Hey, everybody, welcome to a brand new episode of Geeks from the Multiverse. You know, back in 2014, nobody expected a low budget revenge movie about a retired hitman and a dead puppy to become one of the biggest action franchises in the world. But somehow, John Wick didn't just create an icon, it changed action movies forever. So tonight, we're checking into the Continental and asking how one man with a pencil, a suit, and a very bad week became a modern legend. Let's get geeky.
We're geeks from the multiverse. We've come to unite all geeks. Now it's time to get geeky and dive right in, 'cause we're geeks from the multiverse.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Again, welcome to Geeks from the Multiverse. I am one of your hosts, Grumpy Beard, and with me as always,
Captain Lestage. What's up, everybody? Yo, yo, yo. Anyways, so yes, with John Wick. I mean, I will say that, yes, I know Matt has been on my ass to try to watch these
I
damn
have
movies.
been.
He's been on my ass. He was like, bitch, you need to watch all of them tonight. And I'm like, I can't watch a whole fucking series of movies and a TV show and this and that. You know, just because he's like, no, seriously, you need to do all of it, okay, like right now. And I'm like, I have a kid, man. Like, sometimes it's hard to do that shit. No offense, okay, one of your kids is still at home, but you have a little bit more freedom to watch what you want. I can't just watch John Wick when my kid is, 2 years old trying to do this. I'm just saying. But anyways, yes, I mean, I believe that John Wick, though, and I know we're going to be going into some stuff here in a second. Even though it's somewhat new, kind of. I mean, it's not like you're talking about like Predator, Aliens, like like some of the cult classic stuff. But I mean, John Wick is becoming his own thing, right? I mean, like he's becoming this like phenom that like you just never would have expected.
Yeah. I mean, before we get into that, John.
I know.
Yes.
So, anyways, yes. So, good old CTAs, call to actions. Yes. So we got, of course, your fist bump, follow, interact, subscribe, tell your friends, and maybe the homeless person next to you. He's like, what?
There's a homeless person next to
There
me?
was an exhibit. What is this? Anyways, no. So, yes, of course, do all that, fun stuff. Let us know what you guys think of all these episodes that we've been doing. And, of course, when you check out our website, we keep saying this all the time. There's so much stuff on there. There's the merch store, there's the Evolve page, there's all the Vault resources that goes along with that. Matt's got his books that he's been trying to sell. I mean, for God's sakes, he's trying to be Stephen King, like that level, like best-selling author, He's like, maybe one day, I don't know. And then, just like I said, we got some cool stuff on there. Matt made a really cool website. I mean, literally, I don't know what's going on. But literally check it out. Check to see what you can find on there. And again, let us know. Just hit us up anywhere you want. Social media, on Facebook, Instagram, all that fun stuff. But yes, man, I know you have an interesting topic to talk about right now.
I do, and I actually wanted to look something up real quick, but I wanted to talk about, and I've debated going between two different topics, and I think I might switch it up.
Oh, really? Now you really threw me off. Okay.
I might switch it up and talk about.
Well, you could talk about a bit of both,
I'm going to save the other one for the next episode.
Well, I thought we were talking about a different one.
We are talking about a different one, but I did want to talk about PlayStation.
Damn it. I just said I thought we were doing it in the next one.
Nope. We're going to talk about it here. Because,
well, fine.
Listen, PlayStation has decided that they are going to kill physical discs and go completely digital. And I would urge all of you to, there's a petition on change.org right now.
And
I
didn't know that.
I would, it's actually like, don't kill the disc, tell Sony to keep physical. That's actually what it's called.
Oh my God, that is a lot.
But if you just put in PlayStation petition, it's like the first thing that hits on Google. But
I'm doing that right now.
When I signed the petition, it had 145,000 signatures. Right now, it's at 291,000.
Yeah, I'm actually just about to put myself in here too because I agree with you, man. I mean, when we were talking about
This is bullshit.
it is bullshit because here's the thing, right? So I know most people think, oh, well, digital's better. It's not, right? Because think about it like this. If you have everything digital, okay, so that means if God forbid, because I know unfortunately there are some games that I did buy digitally. The problem is there's two things here. One, I said I also know that with online services and things like that. So if like PSN goes down, you can't play the game. You can't play the game at all because it needs to be up. So the other big thing to this too is that I was also hearing about um, the rights. So like when you buy a game, like through whatever, PlayStation saying yes, you can play it, but you really don't own the game.
Yeah, there's a level of ownership. Like when you go to stores like GameStop and buy a game, I mean, there's a number of problems. Because like I said, when you go and actually buy the game, there's a level of ownership that you have because you have a physical disc, you have something that you actually own, even though the game technically is not yours, just that disc is yours.
Mhm.
But when you buy it digitally, there's no level of that shows that you have ownership other than maybe a receipt that you get in your email. Hey, thanks for your purchase. But on the other front, the excitement of going to GameStop, reserving a game, like you pre-order a game that's coming out. Like if you're pre-ordering GTA 6 or you're pre-ordering Wolverine, like you pre-order those games. Half of the joy is going to the GameStop and picking the game up.
True.
That's half of the joy of doing it. But with physical discs and going to GameStop, you actually have the opportunity to keep putting money down. You don't have to put your 70 or 80 or $100 in one go. When you buy digital games, guess what? You don't get to do that. If you're buying an $80 game, guess what you're spending? $80.
Right.
Like there's no layaway plan that they have where you can put some money down and keep paying until the game comes out, which is what I've always done. When games have come out, I've actually gone there and like I'll put 10 in, I'll put 5 in, I'll put 20 in, like whatever I have, I'll put it in until the thing is paid off. And then I'll just go pick it up.
Well, so here's the thing too, right? So, when Sony was like, actually now I'm thinking about it, it wasn't just Sony. I mean, also Microsoft. When you're buying a game online or basically on the store, and I know Microsoft basically is kind of doing the same thing. To me, it's like, yes, like as the consumer, you would think that you would own that game, right? Because you paid money for this game, so that way it won't be, removed. It won't be whatever. Like it should be on there no matter what, right? Because like when you look at, so like for example, let's say if Far Cry just said, we're done, we're just simply done, and then all of a sudden PlayStation's like, yeah, fuck it, we're just gonna take it off the store, and then guess what? All that shit that you just bought,
Yeah.
is gone, and so like that's what we're saying is like yeah, and I'm also thinking about like the old days, like when you're buying a game, like you were saying about GameStop, like it's nice to actually have the disc, in hand sometimes because, like I said, maybe your friend doesn't actually own the game.
Well,
right?
and that's
like, and like maybe you want to be like, hey man, like here, try this out and see what it's like.
Yeah, I mean that's like the biggest argument. It's not that digital, like, oh, digital is of the devil. Like it's not like we're saying digital is bad. What we're saying is when digital becomes the only option, because when you have the disc, it's a real game that you now own. You can lend it, you can trade it, you can sell it, you can gift it, you can collect it, or you can pass it down to your kids. Like I gave Rachel and Scott my 360.
Right.
And all of my 360 games that are on discs, they have.
Right.
And when you now, after January 2028, new games are going to be sold digitally. So when you go to the store and you pick up that plastic case, there's going to be no disc inside. It's going to be a digital code so you can download it.
Well, so here's the other problem with that too. Think about when you used to get like the deluxe editions or like the ultimate or something like that, and you would get like all these like cool. Because I wish I still had mine, but they it broke. But like Days Gone, like stuff like that, you would get collectibles, you get things, you do all
Right.
these things, and you get a cool case out of it and the disc, of course. But like I've noticed, like for example, I think it was God of War, and there was like a few other games that in the last I would say 7-8 years they've been doing that where they'd sell you the case, but there's no game inside.
Right. It's just a digital code and you download it. And
You're like, what the fuck?
technically, you don't own it. You're renting the access to this game. Like you're buying the access to this game, but you don't physically own it. And at any point, if they decide, like, hey, we're pulling this game, guess what?
It's done.
You're done. Like you can't play this game. If you have a physical disc, they can't do that.
Right. They can't
You can
take it away
still
from you.
maybe online features they can
Right. Get rid of.
they
whatever.
can get rid of or whatever. But this is kind of like what we're saying, and I would urge you guys to go on to Google, put in PlayStation petition, and sign this thing because
Well, it also just when I just did it a second ago, it was asking to like give support, and I was like, I'll just share it. Not that I don't want to give you my support in that sense. I'm just going to share it on Facebook. That's exactly what I did. But like I wasn't going to sit there and be like, oh, here's $10 for you to keep this up. No, I will continue to share it. Whatever, I will do that, and I just did it, and I was like, all right, cool, boom, I did my part. I did my part, Matt.
So, I mean, I'm gonna say this right now because having a I mean, I've had a PS4, I have a PS5, but I can tell you this right now, John. If PlayStation continues down this path, I will not have a PS6.
I know. Then it sounds like you and I are going to go to Xbox, huh?
I'm just being honest. Like I do not want to go to a console that's going to make a decision where they are saying, we want to control your games. You no longer own them. They are ours.
Yeah, and that's the thing too. Is like where, and this is the thing, and this is what sucks. Is like you look at Sony and you look at Microsoft. Microsoft doesn't really need to make money, in the sense of consoles. They already have $1 billion company through computers and PCs and everything the fuck else that they're doing, all the software. People buy it. Sony, on the other hand, I'm not saying that they don't have like that much money, but like, Sony, yes, they make, like speakers and a few other like TVs and so on and so forth. So they make, get some money from all that other stuff, but they're not making software. They're not making other things that most people would be using. And so, Microsoft, in the sense where they have the Game Pass and there's, they'll actually put new games on there and say, okay, give it a shot. And if you want to buy the game, great. If not, then you can just play it on here. But again, like we were saying, it's this back and forth shit that honestly, like, I'm glad that there's no really console wars anymore because of the fact that, yes, you can play games that Microsoft is making. And then now, of course, with PlayStation, they're not really giving the rights, but it's like, Steam's able to, get like PlayStation games, which, oh, wait, Microsoft can then get from there. So it's just at this point, it's like, why do we want to lose people off of consoles? Because, the reality is that you're right. I would say at some point, that's why I know, unfortunately, PCs are the overlords, right? Because you can just play whatever game you want. You can have whatever. You can have Steam, you can have, I can't even remember some of the other ones, but, just in general, like you can play more on a computer than I guess you could, sure, on a console, but it sucks when you have to wait 3 years for the game that just came out, let's say yesterday. Now you got to wait 3 years for the fucking PC version of that game to finally come out.
Yeah.
But all we're saying is, yes, if you think this is wrong, which we would hope that you would think is wrong, again, sign that petition. Definitely, share with all your friends and whoever else that plays consoles and things like that. Because at this point, I agree. I've been a diehard PlayStation guy for a long time, man. And I'm not saying that I wouldn't, go back to an Xbox. But if they're going to continue down this road and they're not going to allow physical disc and this and that, I hate saying it. I might have to cut the cord. Because I agree. It
Yeah,
sucks.
it's actually, I mean, right now this PlayStation, don't kill the disc petition is like pretty much one of the top 3 gaming petitions like right now, like that have ever been,
Probably done.
has ever been done. Like right now they're over 250. The GTA PC petition gathered like 600,000.
Damn.
Dark Souls had one that was a little over 70,000. There was a European Citizens Initiative to, and I don't know exactly what the thing is, but it said it's Stop Killing Games petition that gained 1.4 million. That one demanded that publishers keep purchasing online, that publishers keep purchased online games functional rather than disabling them. So if you purchase a game and it had online, and then all of a sudden they go, "Oh, we're cutting the servers out," that's this petition. They essentially stop killing these games.
Well, I understand that some of these companies that they're trying to like continue to move on and do other things, but at the same time, if there's games that are still popular, don't just
Right.
kill it off. I mean, like that's stupid. Like, why don't you want to make money at this point? I mean, with all the goddamn microtransactions that we have.
I feel like sometimes these companies are allergic to making money.
Yeah, seriously. I mean, think about it. Think about when we talk about all the movies and shit. They're like, we don't. I mean, we have a lot of money anyways, but let's just fuck up this movie
Yeah,
anyway.
let's just fuck it up anyway.
But I know we've been talking way too much about.
So
this.
we're talking John Wick. We're if you know the series, like there are 4 movies, and I think each one gets better and better as you watch them. It just escalates the story, the characters, the fighting, like everything is just escalated in each one. There's also a TV show, The Continental, and there's a spin-off movie called The Ballerina, which is also in the John Wick universe. So, and I believe they're planning, his character's name is Kane, who's you haven't seen him, John, but he's a blind kind of martial artist guy. Who's
okay.
also, bounty hunter type.
Kind of reminds me of Stick.
Assassin type character, and he's getting his own spin-off as well. There's some talk about maybe a John Wick 5, but who knows? But we are talking about John Wick, and we will start with you, John, because how has John Wick brought action movies back from the dead?
Okay, so when we're talking about, we're going to start off with this, the Bourne effect. Okay, so the reason why we're gonna it'll tie into what we're talking about here, but the Bourne movies were great because the shaky camera enhanced the realism, right? And so here's the problem: Hollywood copied that camera shake, but forgot everything else. Right? So the question is, did studios copy Bourne the same way they later copied Marvel?
Well, I mean, look, you have to look at the Bourne movies, right? I mean, yeah, that shaky camera I think was definitely copied, but you also have to look at the Bourne movie itself, because Jason Bourne was always constantly on the run. He was always fighting for survival. That's why you had those shaky camera, and the quick cuts. They made sense because when you're always moving and you're always running and you're always trying to survive and fight, that's kind of what you'd want it to look like.
Well, so here's the thing too. I think Hollywood just wanted to see, that their secret ingredient when they saw like Bourne, that it was this motion sickness. Like they felt like you had to
Right.
be motion sickness this entire time.
It looked like the camera operator was having like some kind of a medical emergency.
It sounds like maybe a seizure or like Tourette's, maybe depending on what's going on.
And at some point you're watching the movie and like you can't really tell like who's punching who because of the shaky camera. But I mean, that was it was meant to create that realism and the tension. I mean, you look at some other movies, right? Like Quantum of Solace, which is a 007 movie. Yep. That's one. I mean, it's one of the most criticized examples of over editing the action. Taken 3. I mean, you have dozens of different cuts. It's not, one or two or three different like cut scenes. It's dozens of cuts during those action pieces. Um, you know, do I think they took from, 007 movies and, the Taken movies and Bourne? I think you could say that. I mean, especially the same way, they later copied Marvel for certain things that they were doing.
True. I mean, so here's the other thing, right? So like unfortunately, when you start to look at like action hero movies, right? It seems like at some point there was like a death, right? Like basically this like killing of all action hero movies, because I'm not saying that, we didn't have any from, of course, like the 80s, the 90s, 2000s, things like that. And we're trying to like recreate it in maybe some TV shows and things like that. But like for right now, when you're talking about like action heroes, it was huge in the 80s and 90s, right? So, we'll talk like three right here. Like, Arnold Schwarzenegger was one, Sylvester Stallone, Bruce Willis, right?
Bruce Willis was
Like,
huge, yeah.
These guys were huge, right? And by the late 2000s, right, Hollywood seemed convinced because, audiences only wanted superheroes. And that was the thing. It was the shift between action heroes, and then when you started to see Marvel making their movies, you're like, oh shit, we really want this instead.
Right,
And not
yeah.
that you didn't want the action heroes, but action heroes we're talking like a 20, 30-year span, and then all of a sudden it's like, nah, we're done. We don't need that anymore. And then it's like, why are we doing that? So here's a question for you, Matt. A couple actually, but we'll start with this one. Do you think that John Wick proved that audience never stopped wanting action heroes?
Wow. I don't know. I mean, you look at like the 80s and the 90s and you see these guys. I mean, Arnold, Stallone, Bruce Willis. I mean, you can mention, Jean-Claude Van Damme is in there. Jackie Chan is definitely in there as far as action movie goes.
Yeah, I mean, shit. I mean, I know Chris Tucker was the relief, the comic relief, but like, when you're thinking of, I'm even thinking of Jet Li too. I mean, there was another.
Jet Li was big in the 80s and especially the 90s. But like when superhero movies exploded, like I think Hollywood wanted to just jump on that bandwagon and sort of forgot that what made us love those movies wasn't the action. It was being able to see like one incredibly capable person overcoming these impossible odds. Like you watch Die Hard. I mean, come on.
Hold on, is it a Christmas movie, man? Bruce Willis did say it is not a Christmas movie.
Yeah, but he doesn't remember that anymore.
Yeah, that's true. He probably doesn't remember.
I don't care if it's a Christmas movie at all. Right? To be honest with you,
just figured
it's in the same vein as his Home Alone, a Christmas movie, and it's not. It just happens at Christmas.
No, I right.
You know what I mean?
I get that.
You can make the argument that if it happens at Christmas, whatever, shut up.
Everyone's like, why did you mention that? Well, because I knew Matt was going to say.
I think do I think John Wick brought action heroes back? Like I don't think he himself, like I don't think Keanu Reeves in the movie itself brought action heroes back. But I think it reminded studios that audiences still wanted that type of movie. They still wanted that type of feeling because John Wick, like he felt human. He got hurt. He suffered consequences. And that was what was real. When you watch Marvel, there's a level of it that's real. And then there's a level of it that's not.
Well, right. Because you're talking about an ordinary human being. Right, that doesn't have superpowers, that doesn't have enhanced abilities or anything like that. You're talking about real hardship. You're talking about struggles that people can relate to.
Right.
And I think that's where, like what I was like hearing you say, like that to me is like what I would think of like an action hero. And, like you're saying, I mean, they have I have a certain set of skills. But I just see it as like that would make more sense to me. Where you're right. I mean, when you're looking at like Captain America, yes, he's my favorite superhero. That's just me. Yeah, he has enhanced like human strength. He's got not saying the fastest person alive, but he's got enough where he can basically run for quite a long time, and he can do that more than Arnold Schwarzenegger or Sylvester Stallone being like Rambo or Predator in that sense. So I get that, and that's where you're seeing these things where actually I think Matt. Now I'm thinking about it. When we talked about the '80s action movies, and we're like, yeah, and we're talking about the handshake, and you see that manly shit.
That freaking handshake between him and what's his face? I don't even know the
Carl
dude.
Weathers, right?
Yeah, Carl Weathers, and it's like you just see these muscular forearms in there. They don't even shake hands; they like grab each other's forearms, and it's like,
and they're ripping the shit out of each other, basically. Like, yeah.
But I mean, you have Arnold and Sylvester Stallone. I mean, they were like the face of '80s action, right? I mean, John Wick, you can say is like born of that. See what I did there?
Oh, born.
But John Wick is kind of born from that because you look at, I mean, Arnold was just this like strong, I mean, every movie he plays this like strong action character.
Right.
Sylvester Stallone, I mean, you look at Rambo, you look at Rocky.
Oh my God, Rocky.
Those movies, like, he wasn't a strong character.
No.
In either of those movies. And did he become a strong character? Yes, but every character I think that you look at Sylvester Stallone, he was deeply flawed.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, Rambo is deeply flawed. Rocky was kind of a dumb shit after he got hit in the head too many times.
Adrian. No,
yeah, but I think you look at John Wick and he's the kind of like been born from these two guys where he's strong, but he's flawed. He makes mistakes, and I think he's not the pinnacle of action movies, but I think he's up there.
Well, because then like the other question was that I was going to ask is, or did they just want action heroes with actual personality and consequences? And I think we've kind of established that we kind of want both. Like we want, of course, John Wick kind of showed, like you said, like reminded people of, we want action heroes still. Like it should have never went away.
Yeah.
But at the same time, yes, we want people that have a certain, personality. There are consequences. There are things that could happen where you can relate. I'm not saying that you personally are going to go through the same shit that John Wick did, but at least you can say, wow, I can actually, understand his emotions on a human level, and actually understand all this. But, sorry, let's see.
We have to speed through this a little bit. You got a lot of notes.
All right, hey,
boy.
Hey, you know what? Let me alone. I'm working on it. Okay. So, why do you think that every retired assassin has had the worst retirement plan imaginable? Why do you think that, Matt?
Oh well, let me.
Because I already know, but I'm just curious to hear your thoughts on this.
Well, I mean, you can't. I think once you join that lifestyle, it's not like you can just get out. And you really have to look at, I think, the premise of the movie. Like, he has given his life literally to being an assassin. It's not like he woke up one morning and decided he was going to do it. Like, he is owned.
Well, think about it like this, right? So here's the lesson of the movie, or really the franchise, right? Just never let your coworkers know exactly where you live after you quit. Okay? Because that means, especially in his case, hey everybody, so this is where I live. Here's my address. Here's my dog, here's my wife, here's this and that. Well, dumbass, no offense. You probably shouldn't have let everyone know because, no offense, once you killed the dog, and guess what? What the fuck did he do? He lost his ever-loving fucking mind.
Yeah, I mean, if you looked at the story of John Wick, it sounds crazy and ridiculous. Like, you have this retired hitman, and he goes on a killing spree because somebody killed his dog. But if you look deeper, even the car, it's not just about the dog, it's the car too. And you find out in like the second movie more about why the car was important, but the story was never really about the dog, but what the dog represented, because you learn that his wife had died, and with the grief, his wife had bought a dog. And that dog was the dog that showed up at his house after she had already died. So this dog represented the last connection to his normal life with his wife. And once you understood that, like, you immediately like got why he was ready to go to war.
But here's the other thing, though. This is a little side note, okay? Why is it that movie villains have destroyed cities and gotten less audience hatred than the guy who killed the puppy? Why do you think that, man? Because
I actually disagree. I think.
Oh, you disagree on this?
I think he was probably one of the most hated characters, probably in the last decade, because it wasn't like he killed the dog because the dog attacked him. He just flat out killed a dog.
Right.
And why? Because he wanted the fucking car.
Right. But if he left the dog alone, there'd be no franchise.
I think there still might have been.
I mean, you even think after he stole the car? If he stole the car and literally left the pup or literally the dog alone, you think there would still be a franchise?
Yes. If you have watched the second movie, John, you would know that, because
thank you for saying that.
In the glove box of the car was a card from his wife that had a picture of the two of them together. That was why the car was important. So do I think it would have been as personal? Probably not. But I do think maybe if they had only stolen the car, he might not have been as angry and wanted like the revenge.
Fine. So you know what? So here's the thing, right? So there's, and I feel like in every franchise there has to be this like secret sauce. Or this like secret mystical thing that just makes everything work, right? And I think in this case, for when it comes to the franchise, I think it's competence. I know he's very smart. He's a very intelligent individual that has clearly used his skills the right way, right? And so in this case, right, he's got no superpowers. He's got no magical destiny. It's literally just relentless preparation. He is like the ultimate doomsday prepper. Literally, he could think of every little thing and be like, nope, I'm already 10 steps ahead. I'm already good to go. I already know what I need to do. It's almost like if you took the brain of Sherlock Holmes and like you mixed it in with him, and then you mixed it in with the Taken character from Liam Neeson.
Yeah.
And you mix all these little things, and it's like, here's John Wick. And I'm just saying, like, because like you think about it, right? Like you compare him to like Batman, right, or Jason Bourne. Or Jack Reacher, like he's on a level with them that he can just.
Yeah, well, and I think
he does.
You look at the movie and you look at how they did it. Like they did this practical action sequences in these movies. I mean, you look at some of the takes; they're long. Yeah. They're not cut up. Like there's a whole scene in John Wick 4.
Yeah, I know which one you're about to say, but go ahead.
It's shot overhead, and he's, it's actually one of these really cool things that almost looks like a video game, because he grabs the shotgun that has dragon's breath shells in it, and it's an overhead shot, and it's one continuously long shot of him just clearing this floor of all these, bad guys, and it's just an amazing scene because it's just continuous. And that's like the thing that makes this movie unique is there was choreography, there were fights, and these violent kind of I would consider them almost like dance sequences that didn't feel like a traditional action movie did. The traditional thing with action movies is like you get these really clean fights, no one really gets hurt. Maybe you see some blood on, coming out of the nose or something, but these were like violent and they were well choreographed. And that's what that's what I appreciate about John Wick. So it's like,
yeah, go ahead.
You just had these, and the amount of training that, you can watch it on YouTube, like Keanu Reeves going through this training of, how he wanted to, check the, pistols for, shells inside, and like
Right.
how he wanted to reload and how he wanted like to hold the gun, like the style that he would use. He went through like just vigorous hours of training, and everything is just so like amazing when you watch these movies.
So I figured I'll leave the Continental stuff for you, since I know you watched the show and you did all that. But I feel like John Wick has that almost like kind of like when we've talked about like video games where it's almost like they either created uh, like a phenomenon or basically created something that most people will follow afterwards, right? So like this ripple effect. So when you look at movies like after John Wick, right? So like Nobody, Atomic Blonde, Extraction, Bullet Train. Literally, it seems like in these movies you can literally see, John Wick's like movie presence inside of these movies. Like there's literal fingerprints everywhere, right? So my question to you, Matt, is: do you think, because when you look at like the Die Hard era or the Matrix era or the Bourne era, things like that, like all these franchises and stuff, do you think now, are we do you think we're living in a Wick era of action films?
I think we are. I mean, you like you said. I mean, you can look at Nobody. I mean, that was an ordinary guy with a violent past, brutally. I mean, that one had some really brutal choreographed action in it, and that's not quite the same as John Wick, but it was very, very similar. Atomic Blonde, that was really heavy on these long takes. The fight sequences were very practical, but they had the long takes, just like John Wick did. Extraction, I mean, you had these really extended action sequences. So you can see the John Wick era of action films. I mean, you can look at it the same way as, I guess you could say, Die Hard.
Yeah.
When Die Hard came out, it was like, wow, this is a cool movie. And then they made the second one, and then there's a third one. It's like, maybe the third one's not as great, but
It's like we don't really talk about the third one here, but
but like you look at the Die Hard era, the Bourne era, like you look at those movies, and I think the John Wick era is just one of those things. I did want to say before I move on with the next little section here, John Wick's gun holding style, it's a very dynamic style. He uses two. Actually, you probably
Yes, I
would know
do,
more
yeah.
about this than I would, but the main one that he uses is a center access relock, car for short. It's the handgun's drawn in tightly to the chest or the face, about like 12, 16 inches from the eyes.
Okay.
Rather than fully extending, like you would see in police.
So you're
dramas.
I know what you're talking about, like right here.
Like
Yeah. Right here, like really like right at close. And so I would say part of that is, when you're extending out like this, I'm not saying there's not stability, but when you're like right here in front of your chest, I mean, you're literally, your entire body's taking that impact, where like if you're extending it out, there might be slight recoil, so for his sake, he's doing this, and I mean, it might look weird, but it for him, it's probably making it easier so that way he's
yeah. I mean, a couple of things is the grip. I mean, you're not fully extending the arms like you would. You would watch police shows and they fully extend their arms.
Well, but it's kind of weird to say this, but it also depends on the stance,
right? And I'll get to that, but the weapon is also rotated or tilted inward towards like the weak side at a 45-degree-ish angle. And the stance, the elbows are bent downward with the support arm held at a 90-degree angle to create the solid isometric platform. So you're literally just
like,
walking around
like
like
this.
yeah.
I mean, so when you look at, if you think about like a lot of cop shows or like even I was even thinking, I don't know why, but Resident Evil, like some of the games, I remember like, well, no, see, I thought there was times where he was kind of doing that, like Leon was in that sense.
At times, yeah, and the tactical benefits is you have a better weapon retention. So when you have it so close to your body like this, like an attacker can't quickly disarm you, as opposed to having your gun,
correct,
your arm stretched out. Profile reduction, which is you have a much narrower posture with the gun closer to your chest
Right.
than you would if you were holding out and you're trying to turn corners. You have it really close, and then obviously for Hollywood, right?
Mhm.
Because this is an aspect of it. This close-in style keeps the guns in hands out of the actor's lower face, and it allows you to get like those really tight, aggressive shots that they're going for. But that was a little bit about his tactical style, and when you watch him,
Yeah.
you'll immediately see like what he's doing because he does it every time, and he does this like really cool like he pulls the thing back and
Yeah, and ready to go. I mean, so real quick, I know you're going to get going in the next section here, but if John Wick never existed, what do you think action movies would be like today? Because
I think they would be what they normally are now. I mean, not everybody copies like John Wick style, but I mean, I do see a lot more like in newer shows, especially where people are just like, that they're like military. They'll hold the like. I'll notice that they're using that same tactical style.
Mhm.
I noticed it in, I want to say Criminal Minds. Or like FBI, like one of those shows, like they kind of like some of the people in the show, like those shows do the same thing. Are they using the influence, or are they just using that gun training? I have no idea, but I would think without John Wick, yeah, there might be some influences that are not there, but I think action movies will be what they always are.
I mean, well, the other thing is too. I mean, I feel like in this case, we'd still probably be trapped in this shaky camera, this hyper editing, this really CGI heavy fights, all these other things that we've been
And all these
noticing.
stupid fucking one-liners.
Right, and it's like, yeah, or hasta la vista, baby. No, I'm joking. And he's like, whoa, wait, don't be making fun of Arnold here. But no, but I mean, that's just an example. I mean, that's like these stupid like, see you next Tuesday, bitch. You're like, wait, what? What does that have to do with it?
You just call me a.
Wait, what? You call me a what?
What did you just call me?
You call me a what?
Anyways, the Continental. I do want to talk about the Continental because it is one of the coolest fictional places in modern movies, because it instantly tells us like it's not just a bunch of random hitmen running around. The world has rules, it has traditions. There's an entire society that like hides underneath normal civilization, and the idea of like this luxury hotel is just for, I'm sure it's not just for assassins, but it's designed for assassins in the way that it works, and the movies commit to it just completely. And that's why it works. Like it's a ridiculous idea. It's a completely like, you would almost, if I told you everything about the Continental, you would think like, oh, that must be a 007 movie.
So here's the thing that yes, because I had to have some help here, but this is what good old AI was telling me. So basically, it says the Continental is basically the nicest HR department in movie history. Their one rule is don't kill coworkers in the office. Seems reasonable. And here's the other one, right? But let's say, honestly, if every workplace had consequences like the Continental, people would answer emails a lot faster. Like, think about it. I mean, if you're like, if you don't answer my motherfucking email in the next 2 fucking seconds, like,
Yeah.
I don't know.
So I will say this, like, so the Continental is a lot of things for these assassins. And basically, when you're in the Continental, you're on their property, there's a no business rule. You cannot do your business within the Continental. It's a safe area. So if you have two assassins that are attacking each other, they cannot even do violence against each other. Like they will actually kill you, like physically kill you, not just a threat. They will actually kill you. And there's almost like this concierge service where you have access, they have access to doctors. They have access to weapons and a tailor that makes custom suits for them, custom clothes and suits and all kinds of things. Like there's all these services that are offered there. They have cleaners, so you call them and they just come and you pay with these coins, and I'll get into the coins in a minute. But that's what the Continental is. It's kind of like a safe place, but it's a headquarters where, you can get a job or you can get whatever. I think a lot of the assassins probably just hang out in the Continental just to get work. You know what I mean? And that's basically what it is. It's like Hogwarts for murderers. You know what I mean?
Hogwarts for murderers. I love that as a title.
Hogwarts for murderers. But beyond, I think, like the Continental, like the characters, right? I mean, they make the world feel like it's much bigger. I mean, yes, you have John Wick, but you also have, I believe it's Sharon. It's the black guy that's.
Oh, okay. Yep.
He is the host, I guess, of the Continental. Like he is the face. The concierge, if you will. Winston. He is the one that's in charge of the Continental. He is almost like a father figure, but you never quite know with Winston if he is for John Wick or if he's against John Wick. It's left kind of ambiguous. Ambiguous? Yes.
Yeah,
there it is. The Bowery King, aka Morpheus.
Morpheus.
But he, there's just so many like just cool villains and characters. Like the Bowery King is like, he has this homeless network of spies. Like all of the assassins that work for him are homeless people that you would walk by on the streets, but they're really just assassins and they're spying on everybody. It's ridiculous and it's somehow brilliant.
I was going to say this. I feel like because you were talking about Sharon a second ago, I was just kind of looking at this. This would be kind of funny, right? So it'd be like, John Wick would be fighting like 200 assassins, right? And then Sharon just basically standing there saying, "Would you like a valet parking, sir?"
Yeah.
Like, would you like me to park your car real quick while you're about to kill about 200 people real quick? Like,
yeah, and he's a professional. He's a servant. Like he just is like one of the coolest characters.
Now I know
because he doesn't say a whole lot, but he just serves, and like he's just there. Like he's just a pretty good guy, but he's probably like someone you didn't want to get on the other side of. You know what I mean?
No, right. And I was also going to be like, on top of that. So like, imagine like him doing that, say, "Hey, would you like me to park your car? Actually, sir, would you like me to do the usual for you? Meaning like clean your clothes for you, get rid of these dead bodies and do all this other stuff." Now, I know this is the part where I guess I'm going to need more explanation on this, but I know you might as well talk about the infamous gold coin.
The gold coin. I'm actually holding one in my hand.
Well,
I'm going to pass it over to you, John.
Well, I know I have one. I can't remember where I placed it.
But I bought these as kind of our little tokens that we would use, like, challenge coins kind of thing.
We haven't used it in a while.
But there's an economy within John Wick and the Continental where they will mint these gold coins. There's also this thing called blood markers, which I'll get to, but if you consider this like a drink might cost a coin, a cleanup crew might cost 5 or however many like you end up giving them, but like they may cost 5 coins. Every time that you do a job, you get paid in these. So it's like an assassin's currency, right? So every job that you get, you might get 1 coin. The job might be 5 coins. It might be 50 coins. It might be 1,000 coins, depending on, I guess, how hard the job actually is. You can get an entire arsenal with just a few coins.
Well, so here's the thing. Imagine if the Continental had like an accountant. Okay,
I'm sure they do.
Do you think they're having a complete mental breakdown because of how many gold coins they have to like think of, like how many is there produced, how many are, like, the constant exchange of these gold coins. I feel like this accountant would probably lose their fucking mind because think about in a day, well, how many gold coins are being exchanged and this and that. And
Oh, I know. Like,
he's
yeah,
probably losing their fucking minds over this. But
it feels more like not like actual currency, but more of like membership tokens. So like if I was an assassin and they're like, hey, here's a job, we need you to kill so and so. This is who it is. As soon as I do the job, I get paid in these coins. And yes, when I go to the Continental, I don't pay with cash. When you pay with the coin, that tells them exactly who you are, why you're there. And when you go to the doc, you see their doctor, whether you need surgery or you need wounds patched up, you're paying them with this. When you're getting guns, you pay with this. When you're getting a suit, you pay for it.
Well, so here's my thing. So if, because you're already mentioned like one gold coin might get you this, or so for example, like one one coin can get rid of a body. One can make you get a hotel stay. Another one gets you a drink. So my question to you is what is the exchange rate here? Like what are we?
I don't know if that's really well thought out. What you know from the movie is that John Wick has a shit ton of them.
Yeah, I mean, he's probably been doing it for what, over 20 years?
He's probably been doing it for a long time and been saving up most of his coins. And when the first movie hits, like he actually buried this case in his basement underneath concrete. Like he resurfaced
it. Yeah,
resurfaced it with concrete. And then when they kill the dog and they steal the car, he breaks up all the concrete and takes out like his suit, his guns. And he, you see all these freaking coins that he has there. Yeah, it's probably thousands of them. And he pays for things like with these coins, but it's like, you couldn't just go to their doctor and be like, hey, I need to get patched up without the coin. Because
right.
It would be a much different thing. As soon as somebody sees the coin, they're like, yep, thank you. And then it's like instantly like, they know exactly who you are, what you do. And that's the thing with the gold coins. Now, moving on to the blood marker. I think these are fascinating because they function almost like you would think these like oaths, these magical type oaths in like a fantasy movie. Like it doesn't really make sense. But when you look at what they do, it's about honor and debts. Like John Wick had paid, somebody paid for his debts to be paid for. And he did that through a blood marker, which means it's a physical marker. You open it up, there's a button on the top. Literally, this thing comes out and pierces you. And then you put your bloody thumbprint on, and it basically means you owe that person whatever they need to, like whatever they want you to do. So, and he does come calling to John Wick being like, hey, I have your blood marker and I need you to do a job. And this is what sets the course for the other two movies and what sets the course for the rest of the stories. But it's these blood markers. Like he wanted to get out of the life because of his wife. He wanted to have a normal life with her. And he found a benefactor that would be able to pay this debt that he apparently owed, because being an assassin wasn't a choice. It was just what he was put into. So the blood marker, when it comes owed, whoever owns the marker can be like, I need you to kill so-and-so. It's going to be a difficult job, but I don't care because I own you. And if you don't do it, we're going to kill you.
So, I mean, to me, this is where I'm going to go like this. It kind of reminds me if you sign up for the military. Everyone's like, wait, what? I'm like, well, so imagine this.
Except they don't kill you when you leave.
Well, I mean, no, I'm joking.
Well, you probably go to jail.
Yeah, but so imagine signing, paperwork that says one day I can ruin your life and you legally can't complain about it. And so that, to me, that reminds me of like, if now, granted, when you join the military, I mean, you do volunteer. You are volunteering. It's not like unless there was a draft, inactive, or sorry, that is still actively in effect. I mean, we're always technically in a draft, but the issue is the last time we had this was in Vietnam. But imagine if,
Yeah.
like, you were told, guess what, you're going to be an assassin. And then guess what? If you need to have this blood marker done, guess what? I can collect at any point in time. Here you go. Sucks to suck. You can't do anything fucking about it.
Right. You have to accept it, which is, it's the scene where you see it and he's in, he just passes it forward and John is like,
Fuck.
take it back. And the guy's like,
No.
Not
a chance in
hell. You did the blood marker and you owe a debt and I'm here to collect it. And what the guy did was pretty fucked up. And if you've seen the movies, like, he pretty much double crosses him. But it's just the idea, like, his life was forfeit when he became an assassin and when he decided he wanted to live a normal life and get out of it because he did this blood marker. It was the only way that he could get himself out. So now when he comes to collect it, he really doesn't have a choice. He has to accept the job. And the job was to kill this guy's sister, who was a big name. Like, and I'll get to the high table thing in a minute, but, like, she was like the next in line for this seat in the high table. And he wanted John to kill her so that he could have the seat at the high table.
Of course he wanted that.
But what he didn't tell John was that he was actually going to be double crossing him and then blame him for basically doing this, even though John finished the job, but he did not hand over the marker. So it was one of these things, like, he betrayed him, and you have to watch the movies, but John didn't have a choice. Like, he had to go through with it, even though the job was, like, really, really difficult. So the high table, this is, like, where things get either confusing or you just instantly understand it. So everything that rules this world, I guess you can almost think maybe Lord of the Rings or Game of Thrones, like that kind of fantasy level where there's kind of like this ruling board, right?
Yeah.
I believe there's 12 seats in the high table, and they are, the families, the global reach, they control everything.
Oh,
And
so basically, like,
if they want somebody killed, they send it down the line, and then the assassins get it, and that's it. If you are excommunicated, there's a whole process for that. Like,
well, so Matt,
everything goes through this high table.
So for me, if you think about it, it's kind of like the wealthiest families in all of the world right now. Think about it. I mean, the Rothschilds and so on and so forth. Like, you could go down that hole, but, like, that's exactly what the hell it sounds like, especially with all the shit we have nowadays. Is that what they're trying to plan? Is that what they're trying to say? They're like, hey, guess what? We're just going to pretend like we don't know that they exist, but they're here, and guess what? They can do whatever the fuck they want.
Yeah, I mean, the high table was, it is this, like, ruling body. Like, they make the decisions. Like, if you are in this world, and John Wick is in this world, the Bowery King is in this world, Winston and Sharon and the Continentals are all in this world. The Continentals are, they consider them consecrated ground. So much like a church, you could go in there and be safe. Like,
right.
Continental for assassins it's a consecrated place. Like, they deem it safe. They're the one that make the rules. When you get to, like, John Wick 3 and 4, because Winston had helped John Wick, they unconsecrate the Continental in New York. And so it would be no longer considered a safe zone or safe place. Like, everything would go. And that's, I mean, they can make those rules, and they can make, people disappear, and they can excommunicate members of, their assassins group, whatever they're actually physically called. But I'll move on.
Well,
I think one of the smartest things that the first movie did was build John's reputation through other people. Like, when you watch the movie, you don't really know that he's dangerous. people are terrified of him, but instantly, like when the shit hits a fan and the kid kills the dog, steals the car, and doesn't kill John, like you instantly know, because when he goes to tell his dad, he goes to the chop shop, right, where he's trying to like sell the car over to them, and John Leguizamo is the guy that runs this chop shop, and he instantly sees the car, and he goes, "You're a fucking idiot. Like, do you even know whose car this is?" And the kid's like, "No, whatever. I just stole it. It's mine. It's not like." And he's like, "You just stole John Wick's car and killed his dog. Like, you're pretty fucked, bro." Like, and not so many words. It's like he goes to see his father, like this guy, the kid that stole the car. He and the father already knew, because John Leguizamo's character had called him and told him everything already, and hits him so freaking hard in the stomach. And he basically is like, that's where you get the, that he killed 3 men with a pencil story. You get that, he's the guy that you would not just send to kill somebody, but you would send him to kill the boogeyman. You have that Baba Yaga, what they call him in the movie, and you get this legend, but all of it comes from other people. Vigo, I think.
Vigo
Yeah.
something, yeah.
That's the guy who tells that story of Baba Yaga. He feels almost like this, like you feel this like supernatural thing, like, yeah, he killed 3 guys with a pencil in a bar because he could. It's like you hear these stories, and then like you actually see what happened, and then you see him, getting up and cleaning, and then you see him digging up the crate, and you're like, oh fuck, something's
Son of a bitch.
But you don't get there unless you hear all of these other characters like telling these stories, and it's repeated in John Wick 2 when he goes to visit his brother, who actually is the person who's holding the car. And he's telling like one of his henchmen. Every villain, like they all have henchmen, right?
Yeah.
But he's telling him that same story, like he killed 3 guys with a fucking pencil, like
with a fucking like he's like, what the fuck? Well done. No, seriously, did he go with a fucking pencil like that?
Well, he has the Russian.
Oh,
you know what I
okay.
mean?
Well,
So-
it sounded like you were like it was just, I don't know. It was some weird accent you were trying to like, oh, fucking pencil. Like I didn't know what you were talking about.
No, he killed. He tells the story again, and it's honestly, it's like the repeat of that. Like everybody knows John Wick, and they know like the story, they know the history, and then you hear it repeated, and it's like, oh shit, it's like John Wick, and all of a sudden he shows up, and he's just killing everybody left and right, trying to get this car. And I think that's just the thing, like the characters and everybody that's in these movies are just so brilliantly done.
So my question to you, Matt, is if they never chose Keanu Reeves as John Wick, who do you think that could be a good replacement, if any, that could do John Wick in this sense?
Yeah,
He's like, I don't know,
it would be very hard to imagine
like a world without him.
a world that John Wick is not Keanu Reeves.
I'm just asking because I feel like, when you look at other movies, like we've talked about, like, what if, like, I don't know, let's say Arnold Schwarzenegger wasn't in Predator or like Terminator, or like, Sylvester Stallone wasn't Rocky or Rambo. Like, like who would play those characters, and try to do the same exact job? Like, I mean, when we're talking about, like we've talked about right now with John Wick, is, like you said, like trying to figure out who could play him, and try to do the same exact thing. And like, you're right. I don't know if you probably could pick somebody else that could do the same exact, type of thing that he's doing.
I just don't know. I mean, people, I mean, people on Reddit say like Mads Mikkelsen. But I mean, there are a whole lot that be like, no Keanu, no John Wick. You know.
Right. I say because like like whoever you pick.
But people, I mean, people do say, you know, Christian Bale is one that's in here. I don't quite know. Tom Hardy. I don't know about Tom Hardy. He's kind of a too big.
It's tough. I mean, you have to like when you think of like a lot of movies, like when I know you and I joked about like Spider-Man. When we were like when you look at Tobey Maguire and you looked at Tom Holland and you look at God, I can't remember the other guy. I can't remember the other guy's name off the top of my head. But you look at all three of them, okay, and then you're thinking which one's the best. But then you say, okay, well, each one had their own special thing about why they played Spider-Man, right? But I know it's a little bit different than saying that John Wick is three different people. But like when you have one character committed to a movie in a franchise, and that's all they know. I mean, so for example, like RDJ playing Iron Man, like I don't know of anybody else that could play that role, and it's hard to think like that, especially where you were talking about a phenomenon that has happened for so long now that you're right. I don't know. I agree with you. I don't know if you could probably have somebody else to fit the bill and could still play the same, role, personality, like that, all the things that, we've already been talking about.
Yeah. I honestly don't know. I mean, there are a lot of, I guess, choices, but, I'm right now. I mean, I would say nobody really can pull off that same energy that Keanu had. But I mean, looking at some of the other characters, and we talked a little bit about some of the other characters, but you also have Kane, and I forget who actually plays Kane. Let me look him up. But you have Kane. He was big in one of the other movies. I want to say 4. And you don't really get like a full history of Kane's character or how he knows John Wick. Donnie Yen. That's who was.
Oh, okay. I know who he is. Yep.
Yeah, that's who played Kane. And he's actually getting his own upcoming film that is based obviously in that
I just find it
John Wick universe.
I find it interesting that, based off a franchise, they're now making a whole universe out of it. And they're making these spin-offs and trying to like build this world in a sense.
Yeah.
And it's not many movies can build, these like this universe type thing.
I mean, the information that we have from the four movies, like you get a little bit more from each one, but you don't get you never get the full story. And I think that's like, you can do so much. And for me personally, I mean, I would love to see more of Keanu before John Wick 1. Because when you watch the movies, like that in order to get this blood oath that he did to get out of the life, he had to do this impossible task. Like nobody other than him has really accomplished this feat.
So you're saying you want like a prequel?
I would love to see like some prequel movies done for John Wick that showed like how he got into the life, like doing this impossible task, because it was designed for him to fail. They gave him an assassin task that was impossible for for anybody to complete, and he did it.
Well, so my question is because the problem is that if they were going to use Keanu Reeves again to use him as like the prequel, they're going to have to use CGI.
Well, not necessarily. I mean, they could do makeup.
I mean, I get that, but to a degree. But then at the same time, would you want somebody else to play a younger version? Because Hollywood would do that.
No.
Well, that's going to be the issue. Because
unless they're showing him as like a kid or a teenager, fine. But I think if you're showing him as an adult,
well, what if he's like a young adult?
Maybe do him without the beard. Maybe shorter hair. There's a lot you can do. I mean, they did Kurt Russell in the Marvel movie that did not have CGI. So if you realize how old fucking Kurt Russell is right now, when he played Chris Pratt's father, that was and they showed him like in the past.
I mean,
That was fucking makeup. That wasn't CGI.
I understand.
So
I'm just
it's
saying,
it's a
depending on.
possibility.
I'm not saying there's not a possibility. I'm just saying that you know how Hollywood is, and either they'll maybe do that, or they'll probably find somebody younger that looks close enough. Because the only one I could think of.
Nobody would fucking watch it. I can guarantee you.
So okay, hold on.
You
So-
do a John Wick movie without Keanu Reeves, nobody's gonna watch it.
So what? Okay, hold on. What if you had Adam Driver do it?
Fuck Adam Driver.
Oh wow!
You cannot do a John Wick movie with John Wick and not have Keanu Reeves.
I'm not saying not. I'm just saying.
You want to? I mean, you want to know why the ballerina was mildly successful because John Wick was fucking in it.
Okay.
If you did not have John Wick actually in that movie would have bombed. Sort of like Supergirl is now. There it is.
No, but I'm just saying. You know how this is going to work, Matt. I'm not disagreeing with you, but Hollywood is going to pull some shit if they decide to do that.
I mean, if they ever decided to do that, you would 100% have to use Keanu Reeves. And it's not like he looks like a 55-year-old guy anyways. Like, you know what I mean? He doesn't look like he's in his 50s.
Hold on. I think he's a little bit older than that. I don't think he's 55. I'm pretty sure he's a lot older than that. Let me see. Because I'm curious about his age, but keep talking. Sorry. Actually, my bad. He's 61 years old.
Wow. But he does not look like he would be 61.
I never said he didn't. I'm just telling you that that's exactly how old he is right now.
Whatever. But yes, I don't think that they would be able to successfully do a John Wick without John Wick. It's sort of like you would not do an Indiana Jones without Harrison Ford. Unfortunately, we would probably never see another Indiana Jones movie in our fucking lifetime.
And I'm going to say this. That's okay. Because I feel like, well, here's the other thing, right? Because, like, you could then also say, you know, hopefully it's not to the point of, like, the Fast and Furious films, right? You don't want 10 fucking films, okay? You want enough where it's a good enough story, but you don't want to go 10 fucking films because after a while you're going to be like, all right.
No, because what they do is instead of, like, having somebody who, you know, could play a younger version. And that's another whole, I mean, I'm not going to go down a rabbit hole here, but Indiana Jones is also another fucking series of movies where, he was maybe in his 30s, 40s, but you don't see him in his 20s when he was probably in his prime doing the same bullshit he was doing in those three movies, right?
I'm not, look.
You never see him when he's younger.
I'm not disagreeing.
What fucking Hollywood does is instead of like having a younger version or doing an actual cool story, they go, well, let's just make Indy a female and everybody will love it. No, we won't. Because your story your story instantly sucks the minute you said let's make it female. Not because it's female, but because that is the premier part of your plot is that the new Indiana Jones is now going to be a female. It's not about the story. It's just the fact that you're putting in a female. And I get it. Like, whatever. Send your hate mail to me and I'll ignore it. But anyways, we're going back to John Wick. I think, like I said before, each movie just increases like the action from the previous. I mean, you have this like Red Circle nightclub, the catacombs, which is where he's going to kill this woman to fulfill the blood oath. You have the knife museum that was really fucking cool. That was a cool fight. The dragon's breath sequence. I'm not even reading that word because I don't like it. But you have these like iconic action scenes. They're so well choreographed. They're easy to follow. And each movie raises the stakes. And I think like you look at all of these movies and
so
I love them. I mean, they're really, really great movies.
I'm going to tell you something. I don't know if you knew this. So because I was looking this up. So yes, of course we talked about a Kane spinoff film. There apparently, I don't know if you knew about this, but there is supposed to be a television series called John Wick Under the High Table. and it's set after the events of John Wick 4 in a world where John's actions have left the criminal underworld in chaos. And then there's an untitled anime film which will serve as a prequel to John Wick.
Of course it will.
So I'm just letting you know there is a prequel movie. Just going to be an anime film because they don't want to do live action, just so you're aware.
Well, I mean, like I said, they are. I've heard whispers of a chapter 5. What that story is, I have no idea. But, does the story need to continue? I don't. I would love to see it continue. And I know technically, in movies, especially superhero movies, like when you see an actual scene in the graveyard where you see the actual grave site of a character, they're fucking dead. But I do feel like that there's enough ambiguity with John Wick that you still kind of like, is he dead? I mean, the dude did get shot. He did fall off a fucking building. You know what I mean?
Did he survive?
He survived before, and it's possible that he could survive again.
Is he Palpatine? Is he Palpatine all over again?
I wouldn't put it out there. It's really the question is whether Hollywood would do it successfully or if they would somehow fuck this up. Because, yes, I wasn't a huge fan of the ballerina. I thought her as a character was awful. She was not strong. She was not a great, well thought out character. The saving grace was that Keanu Reeves was John Wick in this movie. But you would think somebody who was training to be an assassin, did she want to? No. But did she physically want to? At a certain point, yes. But she fucked up every part of that movie. And it was like, just do the right fucking thing. Like they literally trained you since you were a small child. You're a fucking adult now. Like,
do the right thing.
Do it. Just do it. And
just do it. It's
like she had the same training as John Wick. But somehow, I don't know. I don't know. So maybe it was never mind. I'm not going to go there.
I mean, I guess for you, Matt, right? So if you can only keep one action franchise from the last 20 years, what would you think would survive? And I'm going to give you the choices. You can only save one, okay? And here's the choices. Okay, you have John Wick, Mission Impossible, Bourne, Fast and Furious, The Raid, or Extraction. If you had to choose one of those, what would you
probably would. I mean, out of those, I probably would choose John Wick.
He's like, fuck Fast and Furious, John Wick all the way.
No, I mean, I probably would choose John Wick because I think John Wick is a franchise that I could see continuing long after. Even if you do say John Wick is officially dead, I think that there's enough interesting characters, and you could create more interesting characters just from that franchise as a whole.
So you're saying besides just John Wick itself, I mean, because of course I understand we got the ballerina, we got the Continental, we got, Kane that's coming out, and all these things that are coming out into play, because I didn't realize that the Continental show was based actually in the 70s.
Yeah, it's kind of like how the Continental started.
Okay,
so that's what the show is about.
Right, I didn't know that. Because I had to kind of look that up. I was like, oh, okay, so I see that now. So that it's well before definitely John Wick at this point.
Right.
So it's interesting because that's good. I'm glad that they're kind of giving you some history behind some of these other things. But yeah, I mean, if there's enough story, kind of like when you look at Star Wars, right? And you can build that universe and try to do. He's like, don't Star Wars.
There's enough lore within John Wick that you can do a whole lot with it. I mean, there's assassins that we probably haven't even met or haven't even been really created, and you can actually go a whole different route with John Wick. You can make it a TV show and have a brand new assassin that is that John Wick level, but is different. You know what I mean? So there's a lot of room for it to grow if they really wanted it to.
So then I'm just going to say it. I mean, I just feel like, when you're looking at a movie like this that has had, pretty successful, outcomes from this, this franchise and these films. And of course, now going to be eventually a TV show, or with also Continental. I just think that if you're going to keep, action hero movies alive, then I would hope that you would look at John Wick and say, this is the standard for nowadays. This is what it should be. This is how it should look. If you were going to do it, this is the example that you need to follow. Right? I'm not saying you have to follow everything of what John Wick is doing, but at least give you that idea of this is the nowadays standard for this, because 80s and 90s were different in how they were filming and how they were doing it, and the characters and actually the actors they were choosing. Now you have to be a little bit more creative. I mean, Matt's like, look, man, I made these books. Make them into a fucking movie. I'm just saying, right? Because, like, you could technically take Echoverse and you could make that a whole fucking franchise if you really wanted to.
Yeah. And I think you look at John Wick and it's like you have this level of realism with the action sequences. It's not like he's just fighting and there's no blood, there's no wounds that appear. They're not just shooting these weapons and you never see like weapons going empty.
Right.
Like there's a level of realism where you see John Wick and you can actually count the shots that he's taking, discarding a weapon and then taking one from like a dead body, checking if it still has rounds in, he's doing all of these things, and there's a level of realism that isn't in a lot of movies where you just see people firing guns and it's like there's a magazine, like
it will run out.
It will run out. Like you can't just fire forever.
Well, here's the other thing. You can't take an MG42 and keep firing it, and you're not going to expect it to be fucking hot by the time it's done, because that son of a bitch is going to go, holy shit, that's fucking hot.
Right.
Like, there is a level of realism. I mean, again, when it comes to like rifles and pistols and things, they will heat up. They will heat up after a while because you're shooting for so long. And then, again, I'm not saying that maybe that's the Hollywood thing. They're like, oh, well, it's okay. We're going to make it cool for you. No, real life weapons get hot. Okay. The more you fire, the more it's going to get hot. But I agree with you. I mean, if you're showing that realism, if you're showing like, how it would actually be, unfortunately, in a real sort of firefight, right? I'm not saying taking a dragon's breath shotgun, and clearing a whole floor or two, and showing that. I mean, yeah, I feel after a while you'd go, God damn, is my shirt on fire at this point? Because holy fuck.
Yeah, no, it would be hot. And yes, I say a level of realism because there is also a level of unrealism with the fights because it's Hollywood. I mean, you have to have
something
that's not super realistic, but when you get to even like how he's holding, the weapons and how he's carrying them, how he's shooting, the magazine checks, the way he's unloading and reloading and everything, like there's a level of realism that makes it feel immersive. Like you can see it and it doesn't, you don't just have somebody and I've seen movies like this and TV shows where the person shooting is holding a revolver and somehow they've shot well past 6. And you're like, I don't ever see him reload, but I do keep seeing him firing. And most revolvers that I know of only have 6.
So good luck trying to reload that son of a bitch really quick.
I mean, I know some, you can see the quick, the little quick, unloaders and reload things that they can put in, but like you still would have to.
It will take some time to put that shit together.
You still have to take the thing out and 1, 2, 3, and like, hold on, I gotta reload this.
Wait, don't fire at
Don't
me.
fire at me. I'm just reload. Oh crap! I just dropped all my weapons.
Listen, this isn't Call of Duty. Okay, this isn't Call of Duty or some other fucking other game that you would play. Like if you're talking about real life, guess what? Hopefully and pray to God that maybe you have a pocket that has a full of fucking ammo.
Yeah.
Because
hold on. I got number 5. Number 6 won't quite fit in there.
Son of a bitch.
Son of a
God damn it.
bitch.
I thought I got all the same ammo. What the fuck? Does somebody have a fucking 9mm? Come on. Anybody? Don't shoot me, but anybody? I mean, and that's the thing. I mean, when you look at it all, I feel like with John Wick, so here's my question to you real quick. Okay. Kind of like to wrap things up and to kind of, make sure we understand with the whole John Wick franchise here. So 20 years from now, when people talk about action movies, okay, will they still be asking if John Wick was the best, or will they simply talk about action movies as before John Wick and after John Wick?
I mean, I think they'll be talking about it like they do with, how we talk about 80s and 90s action movies. I mean, I still really, really enjoy some of this, maybe not all of them. But like, I still really enjoy Die Hard. I still really enjoy some of these action movies from that era.
I love Rambo, man. I'm sorry, I know I'm not Rambo. Yes, I do like Rambo, but I'm just saying I really like Rocky. I don't know. It's just
Demolition Man was my jam back in the day. I mean,
yeah, Demolition Jam. Okay.
Demolition Man. Yeah, I mean,
oh man, sorry, I think it's a jam. Sorry,
but yeah, I mean, I think 20 years from now, I mean, people will be talking about John Wick.
Well, hold on.
In that same vein of being like, I mean, 20 years from now, nobody's gonna know who fucking Bruce Willis is.
Well, so hold on a second. You do realize that this is weird to say this. The first John Wick film came out in 2014. Matt, we're only 8 years away from fucking it being 20 years old. I mean, holy shit is all I gotta say.
But I mean, you look at Die Hard. I mean, those were 80s, not
I mean, that's 40 years ago.
Predator. I mean, you look at a lot of those, and they're, even like early 90s and mid 90s. I mean, we're still talking 30 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, shit, depending on. Yeah. I mean, you're not wrong. I mean, or a little bit past 30 at this point.
I mean, we're still talking about Arnold Schwarzenegger. We're still talking about some of these movies. I mean,
you don't see Arnold and and Sylvester Stallone, playing in movies really much. And
no, but I mean, you wouldn't have Creed movies without Rocky.
Well,
right?
I mean, yeah. Well, I mean, granted, he's not fighting in the movies. I mean, yes, he's at least making an appearance as himself in the movie, and I mean, just coaching him in that sense. But I do agree with you. Yes, to show the characters even if they're older. So I mean, even if you had like a John Wick universe, even if you could have like John Wick kind of like become Kane, not so much like blind wise, but like an older mentor of assassins.
I would hope that. I would hope when we do hit that 20-year mark that there's much more content than 4 movies and a show, and we say possibilities because nothing's ever written in stone or confirmed until it's out. But I would hope that there's more content that comes out and more things that comes out for John Wick that just expand that universe more, and that 20 years from now we can be like, yes, there's, right now there's 4, but there maybe in 20 years there's 6 or 8 movies, and there's 3 TV shows, and there's an animated show, and now there's an anime show. There's comic books, and I'm sure right now there are comic books, but like there could be like a ton of content where like right now we're saying like, yeah, the 4 movies were brilliant. The Continental is what it is. I don't think it was the greatest show ever created, but the Ballerina again wasn't the greatest movie ever made, but I do think, and I hope that in 20 years that there's just more content.
So, fun fact, there is comic books for John Wick. It was a 5-issue prequel comic series, and it was released between 2017 and 2019. So, just saying, if you do like comic books, and Matt's like, I gotta have all 5 issues. I need to make sure I collect them. No, I'm just gonna say this kind of as a closing note. I mean, so how about this, Matt? I will, and I don't say this often, Okay. I'll promise you that I will watch the movies. I'll even take time to watch the TV show, and I will get on it because I'm a lot behind the 8 ball when it comes to this thing. And I know you've been on my ass.
Oh, I have been. And
And I'll say this. So I will take the time to fully watch each and every single one, and I will let you know how I think about them afterwards. Now, like I said, I did watch the first one. It has been a little bit, but I'll rewatch it again, and I'll make sure to fully, invest myself in this. And because if you're saying what we've been talking about, I will give it a shot. I will seriously give it a shot, and I will make sure to let you know. I will give you. I don't know if I would give you a play-by-play, but I'll give you enough where I can say, okay, you're right, or I don't know if you were right about this, but I will at least give you the shot.
It's just the effort. But anyways, we should close this thing up. We've been talking long enough about John Wick. So
yes, everybody, I know, like we said, we've talked a lot about John Wick. We've talked, a lot about action heroes and all this other stuff. And I know next week, you're definitely going to love all about cinematic games. And whether you like them or not, it's up to you. But I will say, until next time, boys and girls.